that whatever I decide to do next, you guys are right there along with me. It's 7:43, Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. Minority Leader Senator Chris Duenas joins us here in the KUM News Link Zoom room. Good morning, Senator.
Have a day. Good morning, Chris and Joe Sir and the KUM family and all the people listening. You know, Chris, that was the shock heard around the world when you announced that on Monday, and I gotta say that I'm really gonna miss you. Your voice and the way you attack things like a pit bull is something that has been needed throughout your career. I just want to say, other than listening to you on the radio from time to time, if I can share a story real quick, my first interaction with the becoming part of the Chris Barnett satire. This wasn't really satire, but you were at another station and you would take breaks on the patio every once in a while, and across from that patio was a food truck.
Right. Yeah.
And they had some of the best sutangu on island, and I was gonna go visit my brother at his office in Naganya, so I was running for office and I picked it up, and all of a sudden in the background I hear this, "Sailing takes me away," and I looked up there and there's Chris Burnett casting me because I used that for my commercial. Let's get Guam sailing. So I said, oh, I guess I know what I'm in for during. But you know, man, you're a class act, Chris, and I'm as much as it bums me out that you're not going to be here, I'm honestly very excited. I know this is definitely not the last chapter of Chris Barnett, and I look forward to whatever you're going to do. I know it's going to be something big and exciting.
Thank you. Wow, Senator. Thank you. You just took me all the way back. He's talking about Hit Radio 100 when I used to work for Mr. Holmes way back in the day. They're old. They're spoiled now. They got a brand new studio, but the old studio, there was a patio, and we used to go out there. And across the street, there was I don't know if there was ever like a formal name, but it was Auntie Kay. It was she's a Japanese lady, right?
Yeah.
Older Japanese lady.
Sandwich,
She had the best. We would always get the Spam, eggs, and rice. Like after every show, Andy and Julius and I would go down there, we order the Spam and eggs and rice, and she would always put extra, and we get the eggs sunny side up, and she had the Spam sandwich that was really good. But yeah, wow. It just took me back there, Senator. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and the reason why I had to get the sutangu there from my brother is he has to eat his soup super hot, and she always had it super hot. I don't know how he did it. Some people, people who drink that soup hot, I can't do it. I gotta let it go off. But he'd dump his Tabasco in and go for it, right? Wow. And he said every time I would get him soup, he said, "You got to go there."
These causes us in the throat, I guess. Senator, there's a whole lot of stuff to talk about, man. So let's kind of get right into it. I know that there was an issue. There's some debate about what it takes to get bills or anything out of Rules Committee. Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah, so there's going to be another Rules meeting today. And, one of the things that the Republican minority has really, caucus has really fought for during this term is transparency, accountability. We basically, Senator Joanne Brown, introduced and passed unanimously a bill at the legislature requiring, a strict adherence to the open government law and what it means to have a 5-day notice. And, we believe that the legislature is not above the law and should be very clear about how we set the session agenda. And so what we've, been debating on the floor every time bills are attempted to be added onto the agenda is they should have a full committee report. It should be uploaded to the website, and the people of Guam should have the same courtesy of the 5-day notice and announcement that we hold the agencies to. So hopefully they'll sort that out in this rules meeting. It was very contentious in the last rules meeting over this issue. And so the session agenda will be attempted, I believe, to be set today. And I hope that whatever will go on the agenda will be a bill that has been fully vetted, that has a full committee report, and has been uploaded to the website. And I think the people of Guam, that's the minimum that we can do so that when we're debating bills on the floor, they understand what's going on. Chris, really important here, and I was talking to a group yesterday about this because Bill 291 is included in this. And the businesses and the business community have really paid attention to the legislature because a lot of times there's bills that are going to affect taxes or affects different things that we do at the legislature that's going to affect business. And so they really, they've gotten on us a number of times saying, wait a minute, we know about that bill. We testified on that bill. Why is it on the floor? We were looking for it and it wasn't uploaded. So that's how important this is that the decisions that are being made in the legislature a lot of times affect everybody's everyday life. And so it should be clear, and we should be debating in the full, light of day.
Yeah,
and
Senator,
people should know what's
the shenanigans. It's a little. I don't know if you guys out there pay attention. I do because it's my job. But with the shenanigans, what I see a lot of times in the legislature is you'll have this thing where sometimes it's a Republican, sometimes it's a Democrat, but someone will come out with a measure, like let's say, for example, something with like COLA, right? But then you'll have another senator who's got pull with like whichever committee will introduce basically like the same bill off by like 2 words, and then the first bill introduced, depending on if they like that person or not, gets buried in committee, while the other bill, which is basically a copycat of the one that's buried in committee, gets released out in to the wild. I mean, I see that all the time, right? It's happened, I want to say, at least 4 or 5 times with different bills, and it's happening right now with this COLA measure. But I wanted to go back to 291, Senator. So what is the deal with 291? Because you guys put it out there. Obviously, there's a whole big splash, right? Testimony, both sides, very divisive. And now I'm getting the feeling that you guys kind of just want it to go away. Is that what we're doing with 291? Do you anticipate debating this and this measure being reported out of committee before the primary?
Chris, I don't think so. I think that's the furthest thing from what's going on. Just to give you the lay of the land, like we discussed in the last time I was on, the Supreme Court decision known as SCOTUS decision is pending, and the leak from the preliminary decision shows that more than likely the conservative justices are going to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, what this would mean is everything returns to the states and territories in terms of this issue of abortion. Currently, Guam has a law on the books whereby abortion is illegal. This will have an effect, Chris, on what the disposition of the Heartbeat Act is going to be going forward. Now, it's not that, as particularly me as a co-sponsor, it's not that I don't want to debate the bill on the floor. It's that the committee report is very voluminous. It's huge. And, the minimum it should have is, like we talked about, a complete committee report and upload it to the website, and not just be arbitrarily placed as a potential item during a rules meeting to go on the agenda. So the thing is, another thing, Chris, is that if the bill, just to be straight, if the bill hits the floor and there's a pending decision from SCOTUS, the bill could then, some mischief could happen whereby there's amendments, and maybe people who don't want to vote the way the bill is, or really don't want to vote for it, will form a coalition, make amendments to where the bill becomes ineffective. And that also is something that would be a disservice to the people of Guam. So right now, I would say definitively, the issue is in flux because of the fact that we have a law on the books currently, and that might be affected, which could render the Heartbeat Act as something that the people of Guam should decide. Do we want this Heartbeat Act now that we already have a bill or a law on the books? And those people who are against it, right, then they should come forward, Chris, and introduce a bill to repeal the law if that's the way they feel. That's the way the people of Guam have a true representation of what their senators are doing. And I believe that's the majority of the sponsor's position.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
What else is cooking down there?
I think the other big deal is the cannabis rules and regs.
Right, yeah.
Chris, I don't know if you had a chance to monitor the public hearing on that, but wow, I would have to say over 90% of the testimony was not in favor of allowing those rules and regs to go into play. Yeah. Now, here's my concern. We have 3 options. One is to adopt, the other is to amend, or the other is to allow it or to reject, or allow it to lapse into law. The overwhelming testimony was, do not let this lapse into law. My concern is, are we equipped with all the testimony that we had to amend the bill and not create a problem? I never heard anything from legal counsel or the cannabis board, Chris, that said, oh, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to mandate vertical integration. Oh, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to mandate that, it has to be 100% organic,
right?
Which the farmers said, there's no way we could do that. I mean, it would be cost prohibitive, and they, they had very detailed, representation. Chris, for me, I think the entire testimony demonstrated that we got to go back to the drawing board on these rules. And
there's also no edibles, right, Senator? I got to talk to Will Sparkinson because he's on the board, and I felt like, that was for a lot of cannabis consumers the in that we had. But, come to find out that it's basically impossible to do edibles on Guam. No brownies, guys, as it stands now, right? So, Senator, I did watch the testimony. You're right, and it was overwhelmingly opposed to the rules and regs. So, going back to the drawing board is not really an option, right? I didn't hear you. Where you're not getting the Senator. Was that us or him? Internet. Okay, so let's take a break. Senator, we're not getting you. We lost the connection here. I'm going to go take a break and try and figure out. Is it you or you? How's your audio? Okay, yeah, we got to take a break. We're going to reset with Minority Leader Senator Chris Duenas. And that's kind of what I want to know, right, is if all this testimony was opposed to these rules and regs. There's a lot of testimony relative to the organic requirement, right, which I thought was interesting because organic's like top tier, right? The healthiest way. And to see so many people who were opposed to it was interesting. I get the cost prohibitiveness, and I think there was one person who had talked about if you go into the grocery store, it's not all organic. Yeah, there is that option, right? You go to the grocery store, and what do you see? You can pay for something organic that's, $3, $4, $5 more than, something else, a vegetable, a fruit that is not organic, right? That's produced with pesticides or chemicals that are not of organic nature. And so you got to wonder with the cannabis, are they going to make those types of allowances? But I did think it was. I saw one of my friends tweeted something like, what is going on with us that we're coming down so hard on organic cannabis? It's a good thing, right? 7:56. So Senator Duenas, I don't know if we have him back on. We actually had something with our Zoom kind of froze. We did have a comment here from Rosemary Laguatnia. All bills, regardless who introduces them, should be heard and not held hostage in anyone's committee. Conduct business with rules and regulations appropriately. Yeah, kind of basic, right? You would assume, but it is what it is because it's party politics, right? So the Democrats, if the Republicans were in charge, I'm pretty sure it'd be kind of the same thing where they'd be, smothering Democrat bills in committee. And instead, what we have is the Democrats are in charge. And I got to say, though, it's not just Republican bills that they're smothering in committee. It's even, Democrat bills. So 7:57. I think we're back. Senator, are you there?
Yeah, Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It got kind of frozen there,
right.
But I wanted to finish up the issue. Yeah, it's
yeah. Let me ask you, Senator, if you don't mind. I wanted to ask, with all this testimony opposing the rules and regs, like, what is our play here? Because we can't necessarily go back to the drawing board and start the whole process over. And it sounded like a lot of their concerns were, pretty substantial. So how do we remedy this? Or is it kind of like, too late, we got to get this thing through?
Well, the thing is that I think we can go back to the drawing board because if we let it lapse, I think it's going to make the entire industry completely upset. And it's going to do a disservice to the process, right? It's not going to work in terms of the way they say. Now, maybe the chairman has a solution in terms of there's an agreement on the substantive amendments, because also what happens if we let it lapse or pass it or try to amend it, and then the board doesn't agree with it, and then there's legal problems. And so it really is a disservice without working these things out. Like I was saying, I never heard subsequent to the meeting, legal counsel or the board come back and say, you know what, we agree with the testimony. Here are the following amendments. And so that's really where we are. Unless we can amend on the floor, nobody's going to be happy if this thing ends up lapsing or passing. So I defer to the chairman to basically, kind of guide us on this. But as far as the testimony in the public hearing, it's completely disjointed in terms of the effort, no pun intended, but completely disjointed in terms of the effort going forward.
Wow. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal there, Senator. What else, before we let you go, anything in closing?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be an exciting session if we can sort out the issues in terms of making sure the bills are properly prepared going on to the floor. I share your concerns about the issues with GVB. I hope that gets sorted out. There's some pretty, substantive disagreements there, and our tourism industry is way too important to allow this issue to fester. So I hope there's a quick resolution. If it's a legislative, resolution, we need to know because there's always been some push and pull, but the fact of the matter is that tourism is way too important, and so I'm hoping that issue sorts itself out, and I'll talk to the oversight chair to see what further discussions. I know Legislative Council is looking also at the Enabling Act to see kind of how that public corporation works and to see if there's any issues there. I think that's the biggest thing right now on the table as well.
Yeah, I don't even know, can the governor, I don't mean get involved because they're a board, but I feel like the least she could do is have a sit down with Uncle Carl and be like, hey, what's going on? The story, Senator, I want to just read a couple of these quotes. There's a quote here from the communications director, Crystal Paco San Augustine. She said, Governor Lulian Guerrero is monitoring the progress. Quote, but GVB is equipped with the necessary tools to explore and resolve the issues that may arise. In an interview on KUAM last week, GVB president and CEO, former Governor Carl Gutierrez, made his position clear, in which he stated, the board is just to set the policy, and once a policy and the budget has been passed by the legislature, signed by the governor, it's up to the management here. And just a little bit of the back and forth. During the last board meeting, member George Chu called out that investigation because now apparently what's happening is management is investigating the board, and board member George Chu said allegations have been made by management that the board of directors has acted illegally or in violation of the open government law, and now management is going to be the one conducting an investigation. That's kind of like the one making the accusation is doing the investigation. Is that even within common sense? He goes on to say, this is not the Wild West. This is crazy, guys. This is pretty crazy. This story was like nuts. This is we're innocent until proven guilty, and the way you guys are acting like we're guilty and we're going to find you're guilty, this is really, really weird and really, really uncomfortable for me. So I say cancel all the board meetings until this gets addressed. This is where we're at. Senator, I don't know, in reading the story again, I heard it on the news and I talked about it this morning, but it does seem pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, Chris, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but I think in these kind of issues, the governor is the mediator. You have to, it's an executive function. And the thing is that you have clear lines that are here, and you have a representation that the open government law, has been violated. This is very serious. And so I think that I disagree with the approach here. I think the governor is the mediator, and I hope she takes action.
Thank you, Senator.
Hey, Chris, thanks for all you've done, and I've always appreciated this opportunity. And thanks, for keeping all of us on our toes, and representing the people of Guam. You've done a great job, and like I said, it's going to be exciting to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you, Senator. We'll see you. Right on. Good morning on you guys. 8:03. We're KUAM FM in Agotni, Guam. Good morning. Let's take a break, sir. We got our 8 o'clock news coming up and more malfunction as the farewell continues. Last broadcast Friday, May 20th.